Okay. What is it, like 4-on-4 rinks or whatever it is? You know, it's 3-on-3 rinks.
Yeah.
But they got a nice setup there at Velocity. I mean, they got full weight room with the rink next door, and they have pros that come back every year.
Oh yeah, because the way it was at EPS was where there's 2 levels to it's in an ice rink. There's 3 sheets of ice, and upstairs is like the mezzanine area. Then there's the gym. So it's the weight room aspect. There's 35 yards of turf technically, and that runs into the weight room section. Then there's another like square area where that's like fan bikes, rowers, do like some plyos in there, all that sort of stuff. So with like the NHL guys, like we would lift, and if like depending what time of the summer, they're gonna do conditioning on the ice. You know what I mean? Heart rate straps on. We put the beacon down there. We have all the data, getting sent to the system. Look at that the next day and just go from there pretty much. But so we would always do scrimmages. When I first started working there was a pro league. So they would have games every Wednesday night. So dude, it doesn't cost a dime, and it's all our Division I college kids who are already drafted or playing Division I currently, and then it's our entire NHL clientele. And then it's just not anyone else that wants to play, but it's like Division III hockey kids. It's very high talent. So dude, on a Wednesday night in the summer, like for years and years and years, if you just walk into that rink, you're essentially watching NHL hockey games.
It's insane.
It's wild. And you know what I mean? Like that's why we don't need to condition the crap out of these guys in the gym, because dude, they're skating multiple times a week. They're playing like pretty much scrimmages on Wednesdays, you know what I mean? And it's cool because it's like you have dudes that typically play against each other playing on the same team.
That's sick.
And it was a summer league, so like my old boss at the time, like he would coach a team and like he would get first dibs on who he wants for the team. So like he would always like take some of the top talks. Like they're dominating, but it's cool because you have our college kids playing against our pro athletes.
Yeah.
So you have kids that are 17, 18 who like watch these guys on TV like for years now, and now they're either on the same team or they're like playing against them.
There's no better experience.
No, it's unbelievable. Right. And then you see a kid who like you've been training since 13, 14, making his way through high school. He gets drafted. Next thing you know, years down the line, he either plays 1 year in college, 2, whatever it is, and now he's playing the NHL. You know what I mean? Like, thanks be to God, like I was able to work with Matty Beniers when he was like 13 on the South Shore Kings. Wow. Fast forward however many years it was, he was like the 1st or 2nd overall pick a few years back. Like, that's first awesome, pick in Seattle Kraken history. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't make the kid, I was just there. You know what I mean? But like, it's cool to see someone develop and grow. Like, dude, I saw you when you're 13. Like you were a kid, you know what I mean? Like running around being a dickhead, friggin', I'm training like a bunch of 13-year-olds and now you're a pro athlete. You know what I mean? It's just insane. So it's crazy to see.
So is EPS where you started? Was that your first?
Yep, so EPS was my first job out of college. So Springfield, we obviously have to do our 450 internship. So I arrived like late December, and then I was offered a job like a month or 2 into the internship.
Remember you talking about that? Like you got there and you just were like...
Dude, it was right place, right time. Like God had a plan for me, and that just so happened to work like that. Like at the time, 2 previous coaches left when I came in for the internship.
Oh, so perfect.
And I didn't even know that. So going about the internship, like, dude, I was raised in a household where both my parents had 2 jobs. You know what I mean? So like work ethic was instilled in me at a very young age. You know what I mean? And like I said, like you just do everything like full tilt. You know, like I didn't have to be there 7 days a week because as soon as you hit your 450, you're good pretty much. But it's like, dude, number one, this place is sick. Like they're training all the pros in the area, best college athletes, best high school. Like this is where I want to work. You know what I'm saying? So it's like the best impression I can make. Like that's just going to increase my odds to whether I'm going to get hired or I'm going to get a really good letter recommendation for if there's anyone else that's like hiring, I expect to get that job. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So just like kind of having that mindset, like, dude, I was there from 8 a.m. until 8 p.m. like 5 days a week. And then on the weekends when I didn't have to be there, I was still there. You know what I mean? Like, because I mean, dude, like being in the class is cool and all, but it's like, all right, what of this information can I actually apply to the job? And like, dude, 2 days into my
best question ever.
Dude, 2 days into my internship, I'm like, 99% of the stuff I learned in undergrad is not applicable. It's like I learned more in the past freaking 16 hours than I did in 4 years of school.
Well, I know you and I always joke about it. It's, you know, like when is an athlete going to ask us about the Krebs cycle, you know, or how many electrons are on an electron transport chain? Right. You know, it's so, I mean, I get it that, you know, they have to teach it. There's a point to just understanding why things work the way they do.
Right.
But there's so much focus on just the book smart version of it. and then you get to your first internship and your whole world changes.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're used to just being in a classroom, just reading a textbook, passing a test, and now all of a sudden, I mean, in your case, dude, you were coaching. Like, I was going to ask, how was your first job you get into? You're coaching professional athletes. What was that like, going from literally from finishing college to, hey man, you're going to be in charge of professional athletes?
Dude, it was crazy because like when you're in school, like you said, you're only learning textbook stuff. Like 40-year-old Teresa enters the gym with X, Y, and Z symptoms. How are you approaching this? I'm like, dude, I just had 25 guys walk into this gym and the total sum of money is like $300 million. So it's like, now what do I do? You know what I mean? And like, I've said it to you guys before, but when it comes down to it, it's like, you might have the coolest program on paper and all this sort of stuff, but it's like, the best ability is availability. You know what I mean? And it's like, kind of like what Jake was going off of earlier. It's like, dude, with a lot of these guys, like, it's look good, feel good, play good. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not trying to like turn this guy into Superman because he's already 99% of the way there. You know what I mean? So like, just making sure they feel good and they can do what they're required to do for their sport, like, that's really my job. And that's what they care about.
Yeah.
Like, you have the guys, especially like football is so awesome because those guys, most of the guys love to just like go and smash weights. And like, that's how I was growing up. Like, that's kind of why I got into this line of work, because it's like, I wasn't the biggest, fastest, strongest, but like, the biggest equalizer for me was like the weight room. So it's like, dude, me being in my tunnel vision, it's like, oh, that must be the biggest equalizer for everyone. Dude, far from it. Like, that guy was born a freak of nature. Like, he doesn't need that like I need that. He might need something else, or he just needs super minimum, and I need like to the max just to get a little bit better. Just to be like a C+ athlete, I have to do the craziest stuff in the weight room. You know what I mean? So like, when it came to training those pro guys, like, my whole mindset shifted in terms of like, not having to have the most insane program, but how can I make them feel the best to function for the demands of their sport? You know what I mean? And like, that was kind of it's all like, I feel like it's unlearning certain things. Right. I feel like that's the best way to coin it, is you have to unlearn things, because now you're dealt with such like a special athlete.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And we walked into one of your training sessions, your upper body dynamic Thursday workout.
Yep.
And it was a large focus on capacity. Like, you did like 9 sets, 3 reps bench press, certain velocity decrement.
Yep.
And just to see that, like, that's a huge comparison to how you like to train with clusters. And I mean, even all the stuff that you're doing toward the end with the sled work and the belt marches for time, like, those are great things. And that's something that is a huge similarity between what we were thinking after we had left on the car ride back from training with you, is that the capacity is the thing that some of these guys are really missing. And once you give them that, the whole base expands. They're able to build up, get more specific from there, like you said, sending them in camp in good enough shape so that they can sustain high levels of output day in, day out. And that's a stark contrast from how we like to train, high velocity, high intensity, but you're still getting high volume of high quality work. Do you want to kind of talk about how you kind of landed on that for your guys? I know you just touched on it, but
yeah, I mean, and I'm trying to think, because like, I wouldn't say I was always like that. Like, the way that my programming has shifted over the years was, when I see people doing things that's different from me, but it works, I don't need to necessarily know why. I like the fact it works, so I'm going to try it out. And like, you guys saw me, like, I hop into the workouts with the guys.
That was like, sick. That was awesome.
And I haven't always been able to do that. So like, now with the opportunity this off season, it's like, I need to do this. And so I'm like, because I want to feel what they're feeling, you know what I mean? And I want to experience what they're experiencing, and I want to see the changes within myself to make sure I'm like eliciting like the adaptation I'm like searching for, you know what I mean? And so, and I was able to do that with my high school and college kids, but it's different with the pro guys. Like, these guys are worth millions of dollars. Like, not that I'm negligent with younger athletes, but it's like the risk versus reward for doing some of the exercise selections is a little different, you know what I mean? And so, kind of going like back to what you're saying about capacity, like, I heard, and here's the big thing, let me preface with this, okay? Like, I've never invented anything. I'm not the founder of any sort of system, nothing, okay? I just like to take what I think might work for my population. And I feel like that's what people might do wrong, is they see something and they just grab it and they throw it right to their population, and they don't understand like there's nuances to everything. You know what I mean? It's like, I need to fit that idea to my people, okay? So like for my guys, like I train at this point predominantly offensive linemen. So like really big dudes, you know what I mean? And so with us right now, I was like, you know what? Going into the general prep phase this off season, I was like, you know what? I think it was on Guadango's podcast, him and Mike and Brooker. He was talking about like how he does EQIs for like a couple weeks. Now I don't want to misspeak here, so if someone heard that podcast and like they're saying I said it wrong, sorry. Okay, that's just, my memory is brutal. So like that's what I think he said. Sorry, Mike, if you ever see this. But I was like, yeah, I'll go for it. You know what I mean? So last fall, or 2 falls ago, dude, I just went down like the long duration ISO rabbit hole, and like the extreme ISOs, like I was doing like both of them pretty much because I wanted to see how it worked before I gave anyone any of those exercises. Like I'm not going to throw out the weight room just so I can have someone staying at a lunge for 5 minutes. Like that's crazy, you know what I mean? Like, so I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do the EQIs for a couple weeks, and then I'm going to apply it to these guys.
And for our listeners, what are the EQIs?
So the eccentric quasi-isometrics.
Yep.
So as far as I know and how I interpreted from how he was doing it, start from the top, lower for 30 seconds, and then hold that bottom position for 30 seconds.
Gotcha.
Okay. Much easier for me. I'm 175 pounds as opposed to an NFL guy who's 6'8", 330 pounds.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean? So like, again, that's not something I really thought of at first. I'm like, this is hard for me. And then I'm looking to my right, and this guy's like trembling. I'm like, damn, dude, his top half is like 2 of me. You know what I mean? And so, long story short, I added those in, and they worked fantastic. Like, immediately the guys felt great after week 1. A little bit of soreness, like kind of quickly, but after we do like the EQIs, because I was doing upper body EQIs and lower body EQIs, okay, because I do an upper-lower split.
Yep.
And after the lower body days, it was all circuit training-esque. So lower body days was more like strongman circuities, because they're linemen, you know what I mean? Like they're pushing heavy stuff, they're gonna be doing a lot of work on the foot and ankle, like just like pushing sleds, doing the sled marches you were talking about, you know what I mean? I'm doing farmer's carries, I'm doing waiters holds, and then my upper body days is more just kind of, I did it like escalating density training. So like week 1 it was like 15 minutes, week 2 17 minutes, week 3 we're doing 19 minutes of like 2 rounds of exercises, and then the remaining time, let's either hop on a fan bike, row, or ski erg, and let's just try to keep like however RPMs I wanted to do. And that was more from like Jason Brown, because I kind of went into how he kind of does his conditioning, and I'm like, again, this guy gets great results. Let's see if I can just implement that with my pro guys. Like, worst case scenario, we're just going to get in really good shape. You know what I mean? And oddly enough, the guys got in fantastic shape. But once I put like the actual exercises back in the program, bench variation, squat variation, lunge, hinge, anecdotally speaking, and what they told me, they were all stronger than from when they were before. And we didn't touch a weight for 4 weeks.
So that's interesting. Something I wanted to touch on. So you and I were talking, I think it was, so yesterday, maybe the day was at your facility, and we were talking about the aerobic system and how important capacity is. You know, Brad Scott, the director of S&C for the Braves, has had a presentation on Zach Dakin's Baseball Performance Summit about the aerobic system in baseball and how it's pretty neglected in a sport like baseball. But if you look at any sport that's even like, you know, a strength and power sport, the more you can increase the capacity of work you can do, the higher quality work you can perform.
Right.
You know, even if your event is a single effort like shot put or javelin, you still have to train that skill over and over and over again. So if you only have the capacity for 5 max effort reps, that max effort isn't even going to be that high because you can only perform it 5 times, even if your sport is a single bout. Versus if, you know, we can now perform the single bout or even if it's not single, even if it's a sport like football where you're playing, you know, I'm not too familiar with, you know, just the quantity of reps, but
50 snaps, 60,
50, 60 snaps,
70, 80, 90.
Like if you're,
what kind of offense is playing, what kind of defense, all that sort of stuff.
In that case, you're performing 70 to 90 maximum effort bouts in a condensed amount of time. And, you know, aerobic, however you want to, you know, break down the aerobic system, you have to train each aspect of the aerobic system like it's strength training. You have to have endurance, you have to have power, you have to have speed, you have to be able to recover fast. So improving the athlete's ability to perform a lot of high quality work, like you're saying, didn't touch a weight, but everything went up.
Right.
And it's, I mean, I believe there are a bunch of, you know, physiological factors to it, but your body can just do things more efficiently. And I think, we're finished square one, talk about efficiency, but it's not just, neurological efficiency. It's, okay, can we perform something really, really well at a maximum effort for as long as possible? And talking to you about that was, you having your guys doing sled walks for what's your time? I know that your linemen at the end, they were doing some sled. What's your like progression with that? What's your time frame you're going for?
And this was kind of cool too. So I'll go right to the very beginning of the off season. So we started, I think I had like 90 pounds in a sled, and it was like a little drag sled. It wasn't a push sled. So they were going, and that was upper body focus for the most part. So I'd throw like the straps on. We'd step to press on the way down. We'd row on the way back. We'd step to press on the way down, and we'd face pull on the way back. Okay, and it's like 20 yards down, 20 yards back, 20 yards down, 20 yards back. And we did 4 rounds, superset that with belt march, 90 pounds on the belt march for like a minute straight. 4 rounds. I did that on, let's say, Tuesday. On Friday, I would do the same thing, and then the following Tuesday, I would just go up a set. Okay, and then I did that for a few weeks, and I worked up to like 6 or 7 sets, and then the following week I went up to 8 sets. But Chris Lindstrom, he just wanted to do it right through. Okay, and so he did 8 sets of that upper body routine in pretty much the same amount of time. He did like 5 rounds of the same weight. Okay, and so like that in and of itself, and you like, I wish I had a Hari monitor on him. He's like, dude, I could do this all day long. I was like, that's crazy, you know what I mean? Because like I haven't, dude, very simple progressive overload, you know what I mean? But so I was doing, I'd add more sets. Okay, so let's say I started at 4, I'd add more sets for a few weeks. I'd go back down to 4 and I'd add more weight. Okay, so I was going sets first and then weight second. Okay, and I'm still doing that right now. And then because I would add weight to the sleds, and I'd also add weight to the belt march. Okay, and anecdotally speaking, like they don't get tired, and that was after the first month. You know what I mean? And I love the sled marches because a big part of there's no eccentric component to it, so that's why I can do it so much. They're not getting sore. It's all concentric in nature. You know what I mean? And again, like, and that kind of goes to my warm-ups. I had you guys do like the Wenning warm-up the other day.
Yep.
Dude, I'm giving these guys so much volume in just such low intensities. Like, I don't care if they're getting stronger. Like, worst case scenario, once again, like they're getting in shape and the weight is so low, like it's all high quality reps. And like kind of like going back to like clusters, like the reason why I can give someone cluster sets is because you can maintain their form at a heavier load. And that's why it's so great. I used to run with my high school guys all the time. You know what I mean? It's like, dude, we can just do clusters as opposed to doing like 3x5. It's like, dude, we can just do 5x3 or 6x2, whatever we want to do with it. You know what I mean? Like, clusters are the best, dude. They're great. And I forget who it was. I started kind of implementing this with like pull-ups, because pull-ups, chin-ups are tough for people. Dude, I'll be like, all right, let's say throughout the course of the workout, I want you to hit, I don't know, 20 reps of pull-ups. Anytime you just so happen to walk by a pull-up bar, just jump up and rip a rep out. I don't care when you do it, but just hit that volume for the day. Because it's the same concept as a cluster, really, but it's like just do it at your kind of discretion. You know what I mean? But dude, like those sled marches have been so valuable, and like the sled work has been fantastic, and I haven't ran the guys yet. You know what I mean?
That was one thing you were saying, that a lot of your guys were concerned about. Oh, I got to report to OTAs, or I got to report to camp, and man, I got to be there in 2 weeks and I haven't ran. I'm gonna get my ass kicked.
Yeah.
And your response to that was, I thought it was perfect.
Yeah. Well, number one, they're gonna feel fantastic by the time they get there. You know what I mean? Like soft tissue wise, they're gonna be ready for it. But the biggest thing, how I view it, and again, people might not agree with this, is I want to leave that stimulus on the table for the team to provide the player. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to be the one to just dump a ton of running on them. You know what I mean? Because I know tissue-wise and conditioning-wise, like, they're good for it. But it's set principle, right? You know what I mean? So that's going to be a specific adaptation to that imposed demand. I want the team to still be able to elicit adaptation from these guys. And the season doesn't start till the fall. Like, I'm not trying to make these guys the freaking best player in the world in April. You know what I mean? Like, I want to make sure that they're progressing accordingly for the time that it really matters. You know what I mean? So
yeah, another thing that we were talking about that I thought was really interesting was how you see your value as not only the training side of things, but also like the lifestyle piece about this. And with your athletes, they were talking about how they implemented sleep tape and how much better their sleep is getting. And Chris had even said that he uses sleep tape during his naps now because it gives him better naps. And I was like, dude, that is amazing. That's so great. And then we've talked about light, and you connected us with Kelly and some of the nutrition stuff that we've discussed as well. How important do you think the lifestyle things are with guys? And do you think that's some low-hanging fruit that more coaches should go after?
For me personally, that's like the biggest thing I chase. Like I was kind of telling you guys earlier, like my bell curve is like inverse from I feel like most of the strength and conditioning world, where most guys are so focused on like the 80% strength and conditioning, like sleep and recovery and like nutrition and supplementation. Dude, I flip that on its head. You know what I mean? Just because like we were saying earlier, Jared, like you can only train, at least in my opinion, you can only train as well as you recover. You know what I mean? So if I put these guys in a better opportunity, in a better situation to perform in the gym and recover outside of the gym, that's when I can start to do more actual stuff in the weight room. Like anyone can make someone tired. If I wanted to, I could go, hey, push that sled 500 yards, rest 30 seconds, do it again, do it again, do it again. It's not hard to make someone tired, you know what I mean? But how well can I actually progress you in the gym and make you feel better? You know what I mean? And dude, like that's where, again, anecdotally speaking, and people can say what they want about placebo effect, but it's like, with that mouth tape, let's say it doesn't work, okay? We can probably all agree that it does physiologically to an extent, okay?
Oh yeah.
I'm a firm believer. I've started doing it in like 2020, and I had the Oura Ring, and I was looking at all my data, and I felt way better. So I was like, all right, like I'm sold. I don't need to keep reading study after study. It's like, dude, I feel better. I believe it, okay? It's all good, okay? And with my, whether it's college, high school, pro guys, like it's kind of tough getting someone to tape their mouth shut before they go to bed, you know what I mean? But I'm like, try it out. If it doesn't work, don't do it. I'm not gonna try to put a square peg into a round hole. But dude, 9 out of 10 times, it's like, dude, I slept great last night. And I never sleep through the whole night, and I have more energy, all that sort of stuff, you know what I mean? And how I looked at that was, now that you have more energy, okay, now you can actually wake up a little bit earlier where you didn't before, and you usually wouldn't eat breakfast, okay? Now we have time to eat breakfast. That's more calories, that's more protein on the front half of the day. So now nutritionally, okay, I can start to get the ball rolling a little bit more efficiently too. Okay, now I have like my foot in the door with these guys with sleeping. Then now they're more apt to be like, well, what do you think about nutrition? What do you think about this? Dude, the craziest thing was like, I'm selling guys in these concepts that sound kind of crazy, but next thing you know, you have, as opposed to me selling, I have more guys asking questions. Like about whether it's red light therapy or blue light blocking glasses, or should I go outside and freaking stare at the sky with my shoes off? I'm like, yes, 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 yes. You know what I mean? Because again, it seems crazy, but dude, the easiest selling point is, do you feel better? If they feel better, dude, you have them. And you have them.
And that too, telling like your guys coming in and asking questions, it just says so much about what you're doing that you're just giving them a little bit, and they're like, they want to learn more. So it shows, one, that they care about their health, they care about their performance, but also that they're genuinely interested in everything else that's going on, rather than saying, hey, do this, do this, do this, do this. You're just giving them a little bit, and then they're going, oh wait, I feel fantastic. I got to see what else is out there.
Exactly.
So then they not only do it, they learn, and they're probably going home and researching and actually, because I think there's a big difference between an athlete doing something because their coach says to do it, and they trust their coach, versus the athlete going, okay, well, what can I do? Why am I doing this? Then when you get that and they learn, oh, my coach is actually looking out for this, I mean, your buy-in just goes, I mean, it sounds like you have fantastic buy-in, but it just goes through the roof.
Well, yeah, and a big part of that is just building rapport with the athletes or the kids, doesn't matter what level they're at. Once, it's like the cheesy quote, like once they know how much you care, like that's essentially when they get to buy in. Because it's like, and I said this to the guys, like, dude, if I yell at you, and I very rarely raise my voice, very rarely, it's like, it's all love. Like at the end of the day, I'm trying to make you better because I want to see you succeed. Like I didn't wake up this morning and rolled out of bed and say, you know what, I'm going to make sure Chris has a terrible day in the gym today. You know what I mean? That's not how I operate, because, and then when you get down to like the business aspect, it's like, if you succeed, I succeed. So if I'm giving you information, it's because I'm very confident that it works. You know what I mean? And dude, it's sales, right? So like once I figure out like what makes this guy tick and like what his why is, it's not going to be what, it's going to be why. So like if he plays for X reason, I need to somehow connect what I'm trying to do with whatever funky topic it might be to make sure that it connects to his why. You know what I mean? Because like when you start to break it down, it's like, yeah, if I have this Gen Pop client, like he wants to lose weight, Okay, let's like go through the 5 whys. Like, why do you want to lose weight? Well, I want to be healthier. Okay, why do I want to be healthier? Well, my wife just had a kid and I want to make sure I'm there for him for my entire life. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. So it's like, all right, now I know that it's more about his kid as opposed to just him wanting to lose 20 pounds on the scale. You know what I mean? So when you can unravel like these layers, and then you can kind of give them that connection to, hey, I want you to drink water in the morning because you don't see it, but this does connect to you living a much longer, healthier, happier life, so you can be there for your kid. You know what I mean? And so like kind of unraveling that sort of like psychological aspect, like that's how it's helped me at least, like really kind of help out my guys. You know what I mean? But it helps like having someone like Chris, because he's such a type A cat, where it's like I can pretty much tell him something, and at this point he has such strong faith in me, he's gonna do it. And like in my group of guys, like he's the oldest guy. So like these young kids like about to get drafted, about to hop in the league, like they want to see what he's doing and they pretty much hop right on. But again, dude, like I've been so blessed in the fact that I walked into a great situation and I saw how my boss Brian, like how he operated with the pro guys, and like how he's such a genuine guy and he just wanted to help these guys and he cares so much. Like, dude, I fed off that, you know? And like, dude, I've just been blessed to see fantastic strength and conditioning coaches, see how they operate, and just kind of I take out this, I take out that, and I apply it to how I operate. It's the same thing with programming.
Yep.
Like that might work for him and it might not work for me, and vice versa. So do I grab this, I grab that, all right, let's see how I can mix this together and make it work with my pop. Talking
about coaches, I mean, it sounds like you've had the opportunity to learn from like some of the greatest minds in the performance world. Who had the biggest impact on you as, you know, someone to either you learned under or someone's stuff you read? Like what coach really you think made an impact on you?
Well, in terms of just my coaching tree, was Joel St. Cyr. That's who I trained with in high school. That's who I trained under. And that was like my first form of organized strength and conditioning. Otherwise, it was just me at Gold's Gym, just like hacking away, bodybuilding.com. Like, I don't know what's going on. You know what I mean? I'm just going to go in the gym and smash weights. And that's why I'm broken today. But yeah, Joel St. Cyr was fantastic to learn from. Like, first guy, hands-on, like, unbelievable guy. And working-wise, like, I've only ever worked for Brian. Like, I interned to EPS, and then I got hired a month into it, you know what I mean? And, like, seeing someone operate at such a high level with such different levels of athlete, it's not like I went to an NFL team and it's only NFL players. Like, I saw how this guy operated, whether it was friggin' like a Super Bowl MVP to literally an 8th grader. You know what I mean? I see different verbiage, I see different cues, I see different, like, just how he carries himself in the weight room, you know what I mean? And just, like, picking up, and, dude, a lot of it is, it's not always the strength conditioning aspect, it's not the programming. It's like, dude, I can have the best program on paper, but if I can't get this boy or girl to buy into what I'm trying to sell, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And that's one of the biggest things that I've learned over the years is psychologically, how can I get this kid on my level or this athlete on my level? How can we find something that we agree on essentially and just work together to achieve our goals? You know, and dude, reading wise, like podcasts, all that sort of stuff, like, dude, I've been so far from like this side of the spectrum to that side. Like I said, dude, I was doing ISO work all fall, so it's like Tommy John, you know what I mean? Like the DB Hammers of the world, right. You know what I mean? Like the Jay Schraders, you know what I mean? Then I'm like, and with, dude, you saw me with these guys, like this offseason, I'm running more of a conjugate model, you know? But like, you guys didn't see it, but dude, my lower body day, like I'm doing like ISO wall sits, you know what I mean? That's one of my auxiliary exercises. So like, again, I'm grabbing some stuff from my conjugate. I'm grabbing some stuff that I see like from Grant Fowler. Cause like, dude, in my mind, like he's like one of the top like strength coaches in the industry, and like health and wellness coaches too. Like that guy is brilliant, and I will never understand 1% of what that guy is saying, but I try to take what I can and I just roll with it, you know what I mean? And like, dude, the 1x20 model, like people love to poo-poo on the 1x20 model. And dude, I've used that, and it has been fantastic with my high school and college kids. You know what I mean? Like, go on.
Do you think people run it for long enough? Because when you sent me
I ran it for long enough. Yeah.
Well, you have the anecdote about the one field hocky player you had that you ran it for multiple weeks, months. You ran for multiple months.
Yeah.
And still kept getting results from it, and her maxes kept going up.
Everything increased.
And it's like you really like if you were if you were certain strength coaches, you would not think that that's
Oh, yeah.
possible. And after you told me that, I kind of had to think about it a little bit. Like, was I running 1x20 long enough? Like, we would do it for 4 weeks with the middle school and high school athletes that I worked with when I was at Casson, but we never did it beyond that. And I was thinking, like, you could probably squeeze some more juice
man. But again,
that high capacity aerobic
she had such faith in me, she let me do it. Because, dude, after week 3, you come in, you're like, oh my gosh, dude, I've done this lift so many times. Now imagine that after week 16.
Yeah.
You know, like, you have to really believe in what I'm doing.
Right.
But, dude, like, I have the data, okay? I'm showing her the metrics, okay? And my favorite metric is look in the mirror, okay? Like, I hate, like, when people have these arbitrary numbers, like, oh, coach wants me to weigh 300 pounds. It's like, dude, if you weigh 290 and you play better, why does it matter? It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, you need to be able to fulfill your sport needs and just be successful in the field, court, ice, whatever it is.
That's a trap.
That's all that matters.
Fall into.
Dude,
you got to gain weight this off season.
Dude,
what is that 10 pounds going to do for you?
It drives me
slows
crazy.
You down. You're not jumping as high. You're not jumping as far.
Yeah.
Your capacity sucks, and your strength is negligible.
Well, it's a validation point for a lot of people. That's what it is. It's like, well, I put 10 pounds on this guy. It's like, well, now he's the second string, whatever, and he's worse at his sport. But 2 claps because you did your job.
Because you stepped on the scale on your weekly weight check-ins is like, yeah, you're up 10 pounds.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, too, like, dude, injuries. Like, dude, the amount of times I've either heard or seen an athlete gain weight and then all of a sudden it's soft tissue this, soft tissue that, freak accident here, coach, I feel slower, coach, I feel like I actually, I'm not as powerful. Oh, my strength numbers went up, but dude, your sport's not lifting a barbell off the ground or squatting, 500 pounds. I mean, in 2025, the fact that not even some sport coaches, some strength coaches still want their athletes at a certain weight is just mind-blowing.
Well, I think that just goes to the fact that what we were saying earlier is, how does the player feel? That's the biggest thing. How do you feel and how can you play? Dude, these pro guys are so mental, and like, watch them like Nomar Garcia-Parra go through his routine in the batter's box. Like, that's his thing, okay? Does it work? Like, I mean, that's his placebo effect, right? But that's what makes him feel comfortable, so he's gonna do it. You know what I mean? And that's where you see guys like, I think it was Usain Bolt, I could be misspeaking here, but it's like, before one of his races, like, he was eating chicken nuggets beforehand.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, what nutritionist is going to recommend that? But that's his thing.
Yep.
That's what makes him function and perform and just crush it. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm not going to tell a pro athlete, hey, you have to do this because this is what the science says and this is what the data says. You know what I mean? It's like, no, dude, we need you to go win games. You know what I mean? Like, we need you to be firing on all cylinders. So I want that to happen. And like, what I was saying to you guys prior was, that's how I kind of go about programming like the pro guys. Like, I do very minimal effective dose. I want them to leave the gym like tired but not exhausted, in the sense of like, dude, like, oh, I feel terrible, like he beat me up. It's like, I can be tired but I feel great. Like, I want them leaving the gym like that, and that's how they leave, as far as I know, and they tell me that's how they feel every single day. That's what I'm chasing, because again, dude, they're the 99%. You know what I mean? Like, the juice isn't always worth the squeeze of me putting 5 more pounds in the bar. Like, just to say, oh, well, you went from 700 to 705 in a squat. Like, who cares? It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
I always hear it. There's no barbell at the 50-yard line. You know what I mean? It's not there.
More coaches need to hear that.
It's not there.
Such an emphasis on heavy strength training.
Yeah.
Dude, the dude is a freak.
He's a freak.
He was strong out of the womb.
And this isn't me, like, inventing these concepts.
No,
I've heard it from brilliant people over the years. And, like, Buddy Morris is, like, one of, like...
Buddy.
I love what he has to say. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, dude... Outside of Jack LaLanne, I don't even know if you guys know who Jack LaLanne is. Oh, look up Jack LaLanne, dude. He's like...
Wasn't he that bodybuilder?
From like the 30s or 40s, whatever. Yeah, dude. So,
was he like the first, like...
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's like the godfather of like exercise, pretty much. So, dude, I would turn on... So my dad, retired firefighter, so he would leave the house super early. And I would wake up around the same time as him, probably a little bit later. And I would just throw on like the TV, throw on like... And Sports Century... or ESPN Classic would always have Jack LaLanne's workouts, like in black and white on the TV. So I was in like 2nd, 3rd, 4th grade, and I would just like follow along to his workouts. I'm like 7 or 8 years old, you know what I mean? But I'm like, that guy's in great shape. Like, he must be onto something. I want to look like him when I'm older, you know what I mean? Like, let's go for it. So I was introduced to strength conditioning, at a super early age, you know what I mean? So exercise was always a big thing, you know, and I'm the youngest of 3 boys, like I always play competitive sports, and so like as the youngest, like I'm always trying to be better than my older brothers, obviously, you know what I mean? And dude, they're 6'4" and like 6'2". I'm 5'11", you know what I mean? So like, again, my biggest equalizer when competing like with them was the weight room, you know what I mean? So it's, how can I somehow be better than them even though they're much taller than I am, you know what I mean?
Interesting point you bring up about the weight room, because we were talking about this, but how there are some guys, we were just talking about the combine, how there are some guys that are just like crazy numbers at the combine. Like, I forgot who you brought up, it ran a 4.38, 42-inch vert. I forgot what you said on the bench press, but he didn't play.
Yeah.
So, you know, in your mind, what's the difference between, like, I guess, do you believe in strong enough, or is your goal like, hey man, just like whatever you got to do to, you know, to perform? Because, you know, you probably knew so many yourself, just weight room, just warriors, just guys.
Oh, that was me. Yeah, it was jump mat hero.
It's look like Tarzan, play like Jane. You know what I mean? It's look like Tarzan, play like Jane. Because again, it's like, if you can do all that stuff in the weight room, that's great. And that's like the strength coach's favorite guy on the team.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because he comes in there, he's like, all right, what do we got today? Like, let's smash a PR. You know what I mean? So like, dude, I've trained those guys. They're fantastic. Because like, for me, it's like, that was me. You know what I mean? Like, I wasn't the best guy, but I loved the weight room. Like, I'm bringing the juice, and I'm trying to get the team fired up, all that sort of stuff. Because like, and it's funny, because I feel like the strength coach, like, he thinks everyone's like that. It's like, dude, that's like not a large majority of the team. They're here because they have to be. You know what I mean? But going back to your question was, at least with what I've seen over the years, like, yeah, there's definitely strong enough. You know what I mean? Because they're still so good at their sport. Because I've had guys play the same position in my groups where this guy's way stronger than this other lineman, but he was a UDFA and he's a 2nd or 3rd string guy, and this guy's 1 rep max bench press is 100 pounds less, but he's an all-pro. So like, where's the correlation here? You know what I mean? I mean, obviously you can kind of get into like the technical, tactical and all that sort of stuff, but it's like, that guy can express the demands of the sport at a much higher level. You know what I mean?
I think that's super cool for people to hear, coming from a guy who does, you know, offensive linemen, who works with offensive linemen, like the strongest people on the field.
Right.
And this is coming from a guy who works with them. Is like, yeah, we don't need an extra 100 pounds on the bench.
Well, and it's cool too, because like Cody Hughes has talked about it, like the VBT world, you know what I mean? It's like, okay, but you guys both bench 285, but he benches 285 way faster than your 285. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? So it's like a good way to test guys is just like, hey, let's all just put like a same weight across the board, and let's just see who can press that the fastest. You know what I mean? I mean, that's kind of like the point of VBT to the extent.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's
the DB Hammer philosophy. Your 10 reps on bicep curls is nowhere near the same as your 10 reps on squat.
Right.
And it all comes down to just, you know, what do you really need?
Right.
Like, what's really going to get you a second contract? What's going to help your team win a ring? What's going to help you become an all-pro?
Right.
Is 10 more pounds on your bench really going to help you?
Right.
And if you're the best in the weight room, but you're not seeing the field, maybe you should go hang out at the field. Maybe you need some extra reps of skill work. I mean, that was me.
Right.
Couldn't catch, couldn't run routes, you know, could barely block. Like,
no, what are you talking about? You had some pancakes.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, if you can't, like, a pitcher, if you can't throw it in the box, man, you're going to have a tough time.
That was the story of my career. Like,
it's like, if you can throw hard, but pick your spot.
Well, right, and like, that's
hard, man. Yeah.
That's the point of the weight room, right? It's like, if I can, and this is a Buddy Morris, it's like, if I can increase all my general capacities and like my parameters, strength, power, speed, whatever it is, that just gives me the potential to express my talent
That's
more
a great way of explaining it.
The potential, okay? Let's say I get super strong, I get super fast. Dude, you put me on the field on a Sunday, if I can't catch a football, dude, I'm worthless. You know what I mean? I can't do what I'm asked to do. It gives you the that's why everything in the weight room is general. You know what I mean? And that's why I feel like those guys got so strong after my GPP phase, because like, yeah, I'm doing some ISO push-ups, I'm doing some ISO like lower shank work and all that sort of stuff, and all these specific exercises improved, you know what I mean? Just because I gave them the ability and I gave them whatever physiological change it was to express more efficient movement or strength, whatever it might be, in those exercises.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's such a great point.
That's what I think it was. And kind of going back to like the ability to recover in the aerobic system, like that's huge. And Matt Wenning, I'll probably misspeak here, like he spoke about that one on the podcast he was on. I think it was a Table Talk with Dave Tate. He was talking, and that's how he kind of implemented the Wenning warm-up, was because in his leading up to the meet, he was like smashing like a little over 600 pounds for the bench. Come meet time, I think he got like 580 something or 590 something. He's like, my conditioning just wasn't there. And he said something along the lines of, if you chase strength at the detriment of conditioning, it was like, if you chase strength at the detriment of conditioning, you're going to lose conditioning. And if you chase conditioning at the detriment of strength, you're going to lose strength, or something along those lines. And so I'm like, essentially saying do both.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what he was saying. And I'm like,
right.
Duh. Like, why have I never really thought of it that much? You know what I mean? And that's where, like I said, with that Wenning warm-up, just adding in extra volume, like, worst case scenario, dude, their joints are getting lubricated, heart rate's up a little bit, they got a sweat going. You know what I mean? So let's say I'm not making a huge impact on their aerobic system. Do they feel good going into the workout? Okay, it's a feel-based thing. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So that was a big takeaway for me. You know what I mean? Was just adding in kind of just that whole GPP phase. I thought it was going to work the way it did, and it did work the way it did.
Yeah.
You know?
We had brought up DB Hammer, Jared. You'd talked about DB Hammer before in his book. He talks about if you don't train the energy system above the one that you're focused on, your capacity is going to get absolutely crushed.
Right.
So if you have good conditioning in these longer durations, then it's going to improve everything below that.
Right.
And we've, had so many parallels to that just in this conversation. I think it's just such a great point to hammer home. It's like, if you're strong, that's great. If you can jump well once, that's great.
Yeah.
How many times can you do that in a row? How many times can you do that in a row with a high quality, whether it's your skills or whatever it is, as long as you increase their capacity, their ability to repeat skills well should improve. And like you said, and I think it's a great thing to point out, is that everything in the weight room is general, and we do try to get specific with like sprinting, repeat sprintability, right? All those things that matter. But that deceleration that you're training, does that really transfer to the game when you put a ball in and opponents and all this other stuff? It's like,
dude, whenever I see these like big, and I've talked about this with you, whenever I see these big, team groups where they're out in the field and the coach blows the whistle, and then you run 10 yards, and then you stop. It's like, are we really improving deceleration? Are we really getting yes?
Is that gonna help them run the route?
Is that going to help them run the route?
Yeah.
Like, is that going to help them when they just had to, get out of their break? They've had to juke a guy. They have to run. They're getting pushed because it's football, and they're not going to call it. Now he's got to stop with some dude in his face. He's got to read him what he's doing. Then he's got to make the cut after that. Like, it's. Maybe there's some team camaraderie, there's this, culture building aspect, which is great. But saying that we're training deceleration with a predetermined stop, it's.
And I think you said it perfectly, because I think it's like, what is the coach chasing? Like, what's the point of why he's doing that? You know what I mean? Because if you're just saying one thing, and if we don't know what you're chasing, like let's say he's not even chasing decel, and let's say it's literally for teamwork and camaraderie and all that sort of stuff. 100%, that's fantastic. You know what I mean? I think it's just so dependent on what they're doing. You know what I mean? I feel like a lot of people just don't say what they're chasing sometimes. You know what I mean? So like, it makes a lot of people say like, oh, like that's not what I would do. That's not what I would do. And I just feel like it's just like so case by case. Because I feel like people, like if they saw what I do, they'd be like, dude, none of that makes sense. You know what I mean? But like I would like to preface, be like, dude, I'm not chasing what you think I'm chasing. You know what I mean? Like that's just a big thing for me. Because again, dude, everything in the weight room's general. You know what I mean? So like, and that's what I tell the guys, because I was telling you, like, these guys do skill work twice a week. So like, I don't do a bunch of like change of direction or agility work type stuff. You know what I mean? And like, do the ladders. Like that's like for me, because dude, people see me do ladders, but I'm like, dude, I'm not working on change of direction or agility. I'm just trying to get their heart rate up and trying to get
this isn't
sweat
forward,
going.
right?
That's what I'm trying to do. And like for me, it's just like, it's a lot of just like, it's just high volume and just like foot contacts, like to work stiffness to the bottom of the foot. You know what I mean? Like that's,
and they're going to see it when they go back to their team.
Yeah.
Because sport coaches, they're great. They don't always know what they're doing when it comes to the,
it's not their job. Yeah.
S&C side. This is not their job, but they're going to see it. And like at the end of the day, we talked about with something, it's like you might see a coach doing, who are we talking about? Maybe, and they were talking about how the guy's going to run to center field. Oh, it was Jake Sudrith.
Yeah, Sudrith. Yeah.
Sudrith was talking about how they had a guy who ended up, hurting his hamstring, and they messed up the rehab for it, and they didn't mess up the rehab. Who he was with messed up the rehab, right. And so he was saying, this guy runs out to the field. He's going to the outfield, so he's running about 360 feet 18 times a game.
Right.
Like, he's like, well, what do we do in training? We have him run 360 feet 18 times. Now, if you saw that and you're a coach, you're like, dude, what are we, and you had no idea what was going to be like, dude, you're an idiot. Why are you spending, and he's like, yeah, we're resting 2-3 minutes in between simulating inning. Dude, why are we doing, like, what are we doing? But he's going to see it. Right. And if he's going to see it, you got to expose them to it. No matter how ridiculous it is. If your athlete plays for a coach that for whatever reason likes to run them through the beep test, for whatever reason, you better damn well make sure that they don't get hurt doing that beep test when they're not with you.
For sure.
So I think, there's like, context is king. And, just if you look at someone's program, I'm guilty of this, of, judging people's programs based off of like, oh, that's stupid. Sure. I would never do that. For
sure.
But at the end of and I learned this from Dakin, you don't know what their equipment's like. You don't know what time they're training at. You don't know their group size. You don't know what that team needs. You don't know the injury history. So, while you can go ahead and, talk shit about someone's program, there's if they're a good coach, there's a reason for what they're doing.
Right, yeah, of course.
And, talking with you and seeing I think that's the perfect description. Like, the ladder doesn't do anything.
No, yeah, I mean, it's simply there for my guys to get their heart rate up.
And it's perfect.
Yeah, and like what we were saying, it's like it's a routine. People have their routine. So like when I was telling you guys, it's like, all right, this is usually my order of events. It's like we're gonna foam roll, we're gonna neuro ball, like bottom of the feet, do some stuff with the hands if they want, it's there, you know what I mean? We're gonna do a few, like one mobility flow, do some mini bands, hop into dynamic, you know what I mean? Like you go on your guys' Instagram, it is far different than that, you know what I mean? But like that's their routine, that's what they know, and that's what they enjoy to do. So like let's say I take that away, and like if we could like give their tissue like quality a score, okay? Let's say I give them the normal routine on this day and they have X score. Let's say I take that routine, I change some of that routine the next day, they could just think that they have a much lower tissue quality because we didn't hit this one stretch they like to do all the time. Like that is the placebo effect, you know what I mean? Right. And that's where like over the years, because again, I've seen how guys like Brian operate, and dude, the body keeps the score. The body keeps the score. So like I didn't say too much when you guys were there, but I'm like always hounding the guys, like, how you feeling? After every set, how you feeling? How's this? How's that? You know what I mean? Like, cause they just get like sick of me after a while. But it's like, I'm always just like taking like inventory, like how do they feel? How do they feel? How do they feel? Even just after a warm up. Hey, when they walk in the gym, hey, how you feeling today? Like he might tell me he feels great, but like, dude, if he's rubbing sleepies out of his eyes, like, I don't know if he actually feels great. But a lot of times it's like, all right, we just went through our normal warm up. Now he's got some juice, he feels good. You got the music going, he feels much better, you know what I mean? And that's where I said to you guys too, where like, anecdotally, for me, I've had guys in the past where their whoop says this, or their Oura ring says I slept like crap, but they come in feeling like $1 million. I'm like, dude, listen to your body. I don't care what that number says, you know what I mean? That's my experience, okay?
Whoop doesn't quantify dog.
Right. Yeah, no, that's for sure, dude.
Doesn't quantify dog.
Exactly, you know what I mean?
If it says you had bad sleep, like, you feel great, exactly like
but
you said. Are we going to not train?
Coach, I can't train. My watch said I'm tired.
But then there's the case where the whoop says you did sleep like crap and you feel like crap. All right, so now let's adjust, okay? But again, like I have enough trust in my guys, and I know who might just kind of like, I know the savages in the group where it's like, dude, they might have got hit by a bus on the way to the gym. They're still going to try to smash that back squat. You know what I mean? Like, I know those guys. But even then, like, within the workout, I'm going to try to scale it back somehow, even if they know that or not. You know what I mean? So I can modify accordingly and all that sort of stuff. But dude, that's, again, I don't think, like, what kind of periodization model you use and all that stuff is, like, the most important thing. Like, what's your relationship like with your athletes? Do they trust you? That, in and of itself, is what I think is the most important aspect of a strength conditioning coach, because again, like, man, if you have a belief in something you're willing to do whatever you do, like you have to do for that belief. So if these kids believe in me, even if my program might not be the best, dude, they're gonna give so much effort to get the results that they want to get, as opposed to some kid who's giving 50% in the world's best strength conditioning program. You know what I mean? And I think that with that being said, those kids who are just trying much harder can get better results trying as hard as they possibly can because they have that desire, as opposed to those kids who are kind of half in, half out for that world's best strength conditioning program.
I think it's a really good point too, when you talked about, the program, is that, what's on the paper isn't law.
Oh my gosh, yeah, of course.
Like, obviously the way we train guys, hey, like, obviously the lifts they're in a specific order.
Of course.
Everything's there for a specific reason.
Yep.
But if a guy comes in and, when we have guys come in, they're going to, do the readiness testing. And if they're absolutely cooked, dude, why am I going to make you go do this? Like, dude, if you come in and jump and everything is like, dude, you're 10% under,
right,
go home.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, there's no point, like, dude, I'm going to work harder. You're going to kill yourself for one day, and now you're out for a couple of days because you just destroyed yourself. Or you go home, you rest, and then you come back.
Dude, don't let today ruin tomorrow.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm the biggest minimal effective dose guy of all time.
Right.
It's like, okay, we did a little less today. I can just add a little bit more on tomorrow. You know what I mean? Like, dude, with the other day, it's like, if I want to add more sets onto an exercise, we can do it. Like, I'm very cautious of how much weight I put on the bar. And like, that's why it's obviously nice to have, like, I use the OVR system. So like, having the ability to look at the speed of a bar is fantastic. So like, we worked up to like 4 rep max safety bar box squats the other day. So one of my guys hit 585, dude. It was like 0.58, 0.56, 0.55, like 0.49 or something. I'm like, dude, like, that was flying. You know what I mean? Like, probably could have put freaking 655 on the bar and probably could have hit that same weight. You know what I mean? I'm like, dude, with that being said, let's stay there, okay? We got our 4RM, which obviously is not his 4 rep max because those numbers are ridiculous. But I'm like, dude, let's throw some more weight on and let's grab a couple singles. Because if I want to get a heavier load, let's just get super clean reps. We can put some weight on the bar, but let's just work a few singles. You know what I mean? Like, there's no point in me just putting more and more weight on the bar, chasing another higher 4 rep max. Right. Like, if I'm looking like tonnage, let me get clean singles. That goes back to the cluster set concept. It's like, dude, give me very clean reps. That's what I'm chasing. Because again, with these pro guys, dude, everything we're doing is general. So I don't need some crazy 4 rep max, 3 rep max, whatever it is. Okay, I know those numbers. He smoked that number. Let me get some heavy clean singles. And he feels great leaving that exercise, and he has more exercise he needs to do, and we have to condition, or he's doing his skill work later on in the day. I'm not trying to fry him in the gym, I want him leaving the gym, again, feeling fantastic. Like, we worked hard, I'm tired, I'm not fatigued, and I feel great, And then after that, dude, I have all my guys send me pictures of their breakfast, lunch, dinner, whatever they're doing. Like, I need to see their food. Not for the sake of, I'm counting calories, you need to add more chicken. It's like, dude, it keeps them accountable. Right. Just to eat the food. That's all it is. That's all it is. Because, dude, like, our job is where, I used to tell this to one of my Gen Pop clients, Sam, you're the man, by the way. I'm a master manipulator. I need you to do what I want you to do so I can get the results that you want. See what I'm saying? So if I can just, like, twist my thoughts into your brain, then we're all winners because I get the results I'm looking for and you get the changes that you're desiring.
And make you believe that it was your idea, right? When they come to you and they ask you the question, say, Bailey, what do I need to do for this? What do I need to do for that?
Bingo.
You tell them, they implement it, they feel better.
Bingo.
Boom, it's already the effect that you want.
Yep.
You've already gotten.
100%.
Yeah. And I think one thing that I love about your training style is that you're so adaptable, right? Because the periodization model, we all know, is so flawed.
Oh, yeah.
We have a 1 rep max scheduled for this day.
Oh, yeah.
Well, how are we going to know that that's,
Yeah.
And, if their recovery score or whatever
and I just failed the final, my girlfriend broke up with me, my cat died.
Yeah.
Exactly. Right?
Yeah, now I need to go lift 500 pounds.
Yeah. Figure it out.
Come on, brother.
Yeah, get that guy some smelling salts.
Or then like a planned deload, like Sudreth was talking about with his athlete. They had planned a deload, the team had planned a deload for him, and the dude didn't really need it. And so his capacity dropped.
Yep.
And then what happens when you go into a full game schedule and your capacity is low? Not great. Or camp. Not great. Right. So it's the planned deloads, the planned 1 rep maxes. I'm glad that you've thrown that to the side and you're like, hey, if we feel good today and the bar's flying, might add some more singles at the end.
Right, that's it.
Like,
that's it.
Why not?
Because like you just said, I don't always have that planned. Like, let's listen to your body. Because I say this every time I go in the gym. I'm like, guys, do not be married to a number. Just because we hit 335 for 4 last week doesn't mean we have to hit 350 for 3 this week. Do not be married to a number.
Yes.
Be married to how your body feels. Listen to your body, okay? Because again, dude, it's like cooking, you know? It's like the key when I'm flat. It's like never burn the steak. You know what I mean? I can always put the steak on the grill a little bit longer. But once that thing looks like a hockey puck, dude, good luck. You're screwed, dude. You're screwed. You know what I mean? Like, always leave a little in the tank.
I think that's so important too. What you said is, just a little while back, is they're going to come lift with me, then they're going to go do their skills, then they're going to go do another skills, and they got practice. Right. I think as strength coach, I think strength coaches and sport coaches both think that what they do is the end all be all.
Oh, yeah.
You know, the strength coach goes, yeah, you don't need practice, and the sport coach goes, you don't need the weight room.
Right.
But both need each other just as much.
Yep.
And, you know, making sure that because as a strength coach, you know, your job is what? Keep them healthy, improve performance.
Yep.
The sport coach's job is to win games. And if one of them starts to take over, like, that's when you see injuries, you see guys not being happy. And so I think it's really important for both, you know, sport coaches and strength coaches to really understand that you need to make sure your athlete is able to do both. And I think if that means, you know, pulling back a little bit, you know, disassociating your ego from what you do, I think is, you know, we were just talking about ego as the enemy.
Yep.
You know, being able to disassociate yourself. Or you said, what did you say? You said dissociate the man from the profession?
Well, yeah, pretty much. It's like you got to separate, like, the man from the player. Like, in my aspect, it's like separate the human being of, example, Chris Lindstrom from the football player Chris Lindstrom. You know what I mean? Like, it's 2 totally different people. You know what I mean? And so, like, going to ego, it's like, dude, in the grand scheme of things, like, let's say I work for a pro team, the point is to win football games. The point isn't for me to make this guy stronger. Oh, I mean, I guess it sort of is, but it's like, the point is for this entire team to win football games. But if I'm so dead set on jacking up his 1 rep max deadlift at the decrement of the team's ability to win a football game, that's an issue. We all have a common goal here. So that's where, like, the high performance model comes into play, obviously, because it's like, we all need to be on the same page. Like, who cares if I'm right and you're wrong? Because now you're just pissed at me. So now next time someone gets hurt, you're going to either not help as much, okay, because you got butthurt last time, or I mean, God willing, you wouldn't do this, but it's like, you might even steer a guy the wrong way just to spite someone else. You know what I mean? And dude, like, looking at a relationship, right? Like, if me and my fiance get in an argument, okay, and she's right, I'm wrong, like, what does that do? Like, number one, like, yeah, cool, you're right, but now we don't see eye to eye. So now we're just angry at each other. So, like, you got the trophy for being right, but now I'm pissed at you. As opposed to, like, hey, whether I technically am right, like, be the bigger man, be the bigger person, like, put your stuff to the side and focus on the common goal, which is just having a healthy, successful relationship or winning a football game. You know what I mean? Like, it's a common goal. The whole point is for success all around. Like, so, dude, ego is just ruining everything. You know what I mean? So,
especially, you know, today it's funny we're filming a podcast, but, you know, this whole idea of, oh, I got to be out there. I got to, you know, put myself out there as the best. And, you know, you look at, if you like, obviously you got you got Cal, you got Corfus, there's Victor, there's Dakant. You got all these top guys have these huge followings. But the amount of guys that you've told me about who I've never heard of before, and you look at them on social media, like 300 followers, and you look at who they work with, and you're like,
right,
this dude's got like 4 All-Pros and an MVP in like some EuroLeague. Like, who is this dude?
Right.
Like, quality always is king. Quality is always king. It doesn't matter what you put out there. What matters is the results that you get. Because you can trick anyone into thinking that you got the sauce.
Yeah.
You can trick anyone to that now. But, you know, if you're with someone every day and you see what's really going on, I mean, like, that's why I'm super excited to get this thing rolling is, you know, if we can prove our results are the best, that's all that matters.
Yep.
You know, whether we have 100,000 followers or 100 followers, results are king, and they always will be king.
Yep.
And so this, you know, the ego getting in the way of a lot of these coaches, you know, a lot of coaches now on social media are posting this flashy, you know, oh, look at me, look at these guys that I train, look at this. And it's like, dude, you got him for a week because he was in the area.
Yeah, exactly.
He just needed a place to train. You didn't help him.
Literally, he was there. Yeah, he was at his cousin's birthday and needed a gym.
Yeah. And that
a lot
goes.
of coaches do that.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure.
A lot of coaches.
For sure.
I already know Jared's got like 5 on the mind.
Oh, I got some names.
Another 10 over
I know.
here. Yeah,
But that goes to a point that I want to bring up of kind of going back to combine prep of, these guys that are running 4.5s. These guys that, came out of the womb 6'2", 220.
Yeah.
With those guys, what is your approach as a strength coach of, okay, what do I need to do to basically keep them where they are or maybe push them a little bit? What's your approach with these freaks?
Yeah, and like you said, it's the National Freak League for a reason. There's a reason why 1, 2, 3 don't play pro football, okay? And for how I kind of go about programming for those guys, and because I got my first intro into combine prep last year, okay, so I really kind of went in blind. I didn't really know too much. And after learning what I learned last year and having some guys return from combine prep after the combine this year, I think I kind of just merged the two. Because last year I was definitely more specific in the sense of like, all right, we got to work on like 40 stance and all, and I probably dove down that too much. But again, that was my first exposure to combine prep. So I was like, because again, like you go on social media, it's like a lot of these guys are focusing on like stance and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, like that's got to be a common theme. Like you don't know what you don't know, right? So I'm kind of focusing more on that. But at the same time, like I was definitely just chasing strength and power in the weight room. You know what I mean? So like, yeah, I was kind of focused on that sort of stuff. And like we did a lot of reps, like whether it's like 3 cone or whatever it is, like I'm focusing on the actual tests. But now after having some of these guys return from where they trained, and seeing how detrained they were generally, like in terms of GPP, I would honestly, if I had combine guys right now, I would train them how I trained my NFL off-season guys this past year. I would definitely add in like this, like the specific, like, hey, this is how you get into your 40 stance, like this is how you conduct the drill, you know what I mean? But I would focus much less on that because again, everything in the weight room is general, okay? If I can increase all these parameters, it's gonna give them a better ability to take the test, if that makes sense, which is the 40, the 3 cone, the vert, all these, the broad, you know what I mean? Because dude, it's a test, you can cheat tests, you know what I mean? Like, for me in high school, like again, not the biggest, fastest, strongest, but I was a really good test taker on those things. So like, why am I getting a much faster 5.10.5 than a kid who's way quicker than I am? It's because he ran past the line on both sides, you know what I mean? Like, I know how to take the test very well, you know? And so, going to your point, Jared, like, these guys show up to these combine places and it's like, they're already freaks. Like, maybe there's the guys where you did make a pretty vast improvement, but I'd say for the majority of them, like, from an outsider looking in, like, I'm not there, like, you're really not increasing that much, I don't think. Because again, these guys, they're monsters.
I've seen plenty get worse.
Yeah, and that's a big point too.
Places, their 40 gets slower.
Yes.
And they do all this specific prep.
Right.
But then the numbers don't even reflect that.
Well, so
you paid all this thousands of dollars and you didn't get the
not just
result
thousands, dude, you're paying like $20,000, $30,000, $40,000.
They didn't get the results that they
Right.
wanted to get, which is very interesting.
Right.
You tried this specific approach, didn't work.
Right, and I think kind of going back to what I was saying in terms of like focusing on like the GPP and just doing like generic strength conditioning, I truly believe, like I said, if I had athletes right now prepping for a combine, that's how I would train them.
Very interesting.
Which
Because the industry would say the exact opposite, right?
I'm sure I'll get a ton of backlash and people won't agree with that,
Right.
but that's my experience, okay? Because I saw all my athletes, all these pro guys, get better from doing very general work, okay? Granted, I didn't test their 40s and all this stuff, but everything else in the weight room improved, their conditioning improved, and they felt better doing their skill work from when they left their team, okay? Now, was that part of, okay, they took a few weeks off and they weren't destroying their bodies every Sunday? Yeah, maybe, okay, I don't know. But again, if something works, I don't care why it works, but it's working and I'm getting the adaptation that I'm looking for. You know what I mean? And so, going back to some of these guys that I've had return from where they were training, I threw them, I wasn't gonna have them hop into the NFL lifts immediately. I gave them like a hybrid GPP NFL lift model, and dude, I could just tell how detrained they were. Like, weak, slow, ill-conditioned. Dude, after those 2 weeks, all their numbers shot up, and I was doing more general exercises. Like when I have a guy hop in a bench press, he hit X at his pro day, and why is he hitting it with more reps with me. And I didn't even bench really. I was doing like push-ups and like derivatives of the exercise because I feel like they were so hyper-focused on what they had to work on, everything else went to the wayside. And that goes back to Matt Wenning with what he was saying is like if you're chasing strength at the decrement of your aerobic conditioning, everything disappears, okay? So they lost strength and they lost all their max outputs for all these different things. You know what I mean? So like I'm seeing these guys jump higher, jump further, and be faster from doing these more general things as opposed to like, hey, let's just do the vertical jump test every single week. Let's broad jump every single week. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's kind of where I'm going to, on more this like conjugate model. And that's after talking to Brandon Bird. He said it best. He's like, dude, along the force velocity curve, there's different strengths. He's like, get stronger at every strength. And like when I heard that, I was like, that makes a lot of sense. You know, like if I'm really good here, okay, just shift elsewhere. You know what I mean? And that's like the kangaroo versus gorilla conversation. It's like, okay, I turn this gorilla into more of a kangaroo. Okay, now that I'm here, let me improve that gorilla ability again, and then let me go back to being a kangaroo. See what I'm saying?
I think that's a super important point, is that some guys are, what makes them really good is the fact that they're a gorilla, or is the fact that they're a kangaroo.
Right.
And some of these coaches want to take away and be like, you're a kangaroo, but we need to get you stronger.
Right.
It's like, dude, the guy jumps 44 inches. What are you doing?
Don't stray so far away.
Exactly. Or the guy is an absolute just I don't want to swear, but just massive and like, oh, we got to make him more explosive. Dude, you just won Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing? Like, play to their strength and just bring up what they're not good at, but keep what they're really good at.
Bingo, for sure. 100%. 100%. And again, I think that's where like the GPP model for these guys works so well. Because especially the pro guys, like I don't need to chase such a specific like thing because they're already so good at it. That's why I think improving their GPP will help them improve that specific thing they're already really good at. Because now it's like I'm putting more bullets in the gun, essentially. That's how I view it. You know what I mean? Like they can express that skill they're already really good at better because hopefully better because there's a little bit more strength and they're just more well conditioned and that repeatability aspect. You know what I mean? That's all I'm chasing. They're really good at their sport. Yep. Can I make them do that over and over and over again?
Yep. That's exactly how we train.
That's
like,
it.
That's like, can you, everyone in the first quarter is at their best.
Oh yeah.
But it's the fourth quarter. Mm-hmm. Are you just as fast? Are you just as explosive?
For sure.
Are you still, and I think a big thing too is, are you still making the right decisions? Like, are you so exhausted physically that now you're having mental mistakes?
Right.
And coaches would be like, oh, you're just not mentally tough. It's dude, they're trying to move their body. You think they can focus on a play or focus on their assignment?
Right.
And so, I think, obviously I'm biased, I think our model is really, really good at that.
Yeah.
But, making sure that, hey man, sport's not just about the first quarter. It's about the fourth quarter. It's about the third period.
It's all about who you are at the end of the game, 100%. Fatigue makes a coward of us all. You know what I mean? So like, dude, if you can't repeat and repeat and repeat, dude, like you just said, who cares how good you are in the first quarter? When you're pretty much another field goal post out there because you're just standing there in the fourth quarter.
Right.
You know what I mean? You're worthless, dude.
Yeah.
And they're going to expose that.
So Bailey, we got time for about one more question here. You came this weekend to Westfield, Massachusetts. Square one here with Sean Sherman.
Yep.
And we just want to hear like, what are some of your thoughts after taking the course and the clinic? What do you think? Do you see yourself using it here in the future? Yep,
dude, awesome course. Like, and kind of what I was saying earlier, like, dude, I've never been someone to like poo-poo on a course because like it looks weird. You know what I mean? Because it's like, dude, people are getting results. I want to try it out. I want to see what it's all about. And if I go there and I think it doesn't work, you know what I mean? Then I'm like, all right, then I'm happy I went because now I know. That's why, I think I mentioned this in the gym the other day. It's like, always fail forward. You know what I mean? Like, I say this to the athletes. I'm like, we don't lose, we learn. Okay, so like we might have lost that game, but let's take away what we might have done wrong and let's apply that to the next game. So like, we lost, but let's, like I said, fail forward. Let's take away the feedback and let's apply it so we don't have to go through that again. Okay, so this course has been fantastic. Like I took RPR in 2018. And like that's like what kind of got my foot wet with like the whole neurology sort of aspect or whatever you want to refer to that. But dude, and I really kind of heard about Square One it's probably like Victor talking about it on a podcast like a year or two ago. And I was like, huh, like that sounds very interesting. He's talking about like what he does and like this quick fix and all this sort of stuff. And I'm like, dude, like that's why I like got into RPR, you know what I mean? And like the whole neurology thing, because it's this, you know what I mean? And like, dude, you guys get it. Like we have a time constraint like in the gym. It's like we might only have this guy for 1 hour, 90 minutes, 2 hours, 45 minutes. It's like, dude, I can't spend 30, 45 minutes warming this guy up. You know what I mean? Like we need to get in and out and get our work done. Because again, like with these pro guys, like, dude, they have a lift, they have practice, they have meeting, they have another meeting, they have all this sort of stuff. You know what I mean? So like, and a lot of times like the weight room can get pushed to the wayside. It's like head ball coach says you got 20 minutes for a workout. You know what I mean? Like they're not going to cut his meeting short for the team. They're going to cut your friggin' weight room time. You know what I mean? So having experience with Square One this past weekend, like seeing the quick fixes that it makes and the long-lasting effects. Like I had Jared work on my shoulder on Thursday. Dude, it's still lights out.
I see you keep checking, man.
Oh, dude, and like I'm like stuck up like here, like 24/7. So dude, when I drop like this, I'm looking at him like, dude, this guy's a witch doctor. You know? And I am the most open-minded guy with this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm like, you know what, dude, like, and again, I'm like the king of anecdotes. So like, if it works for me and I feel good, and it works for my guys and they feel good, I'm sold. I don't need to read a single paper. I don't need to give me a book. I don't care. Doesn't matter. Look good, play good, feel good. You know what I mean? Like I can't recommend this course enough to ATs, PTs, chiros, strength and conditioning coaches, dude, freaking coaches, like team sport coaches. You know what I mean? Like that's, if you have that ability, dude, you know what I mean? Like that's incredible just for your athletes. And you know what I mean? Like thanks so much to you guys for coming up here and just like helping Sean like with the course. You know what I mean? Like me and you, we talked about before, it's like social media, like that's not my thing. And at this point, like in the world, like it's a necessary evil, you know what I mean? Because like that's your marketing and like that's kind of how you're pushing your product. But like for us three, like that's how we got connected, you know what I mean? So like if it wasn't for IG, like dude, me and you never would have talked. Yep. You know, I forget how we even ended up speaking to
I don't know.
with.
I think I DM'd you.
Yeah, maybe. Like, I have no idea.
I had like a school project.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
this guy
that's
what it was.
Yeah, it was a school project. And I'm like, this guy looks like he's got something interesting to say. I saw you posting testimonies and we followed each other and I was like, let me just hit this guy up in the DM.
Dude, dude, I never had someone interview for a school project. That was hilarious. And I'm like,
same with Jared.
And I'm like, dude, I don't know if like this guy's gonna have any like, I don't know if he's gonna expect what I have to say because like, I don't view myself as like a polarizing figure in strength and conditioning, but like I definitely go against a lot of like the grain of how people like operate and what they say. And like, dude, like I said, like I'm Mr. GPP at this friggin' point, you know what I mean? But it's like, we wouldn't have met if it wasn't for social media, you know what I mean? So like that's so fantastic in and of itself. And like, again, dude, like meeting you in person has been awesome. Jared, meeting you in person and like being introduced to you has been fantastic. Like you guys came to the gym on Thursday. Like this wasn't just like, yeah, we'll see you at the seminar. It's like you guys came to me. And you guys worked out with my guys, and you worked on my guys. Like that was the coolest thing of all time. You know what I mean? So like, thanks be to God. Like you guys came up and like, you were incredible.
Thanks for having us out there, man. Seriously. This was,
dude. Like meeting over DMs. Like you didn't have to have a phone conversation with me for 2 hours.
Right.
You know.
Right. Yeah, dude. We were on the phone for a while. Yeah, dude. Yeah, that was awesome. And again, like that kind of goes back to like the ego thing, because it's like. Dude, I would like to think I'm the furthest from having an ego, but it's like, number one, you're interviewing me. But my whole concept, when you asked you to interview me, I wanted to know stuff about you. I wanted to see what you had to teach me. You know what I mean? So like, it's like, okay, like I can probably offer like my story, but it's like, what can he offer me? Because he works in a completely different, like, he's had different athletes, this, that, and the other thing. So it's like, who am I to say, oh, I'm pretty cool, this guy wants to interview me, I'm the man, where it's like, no, dude, like, he probably has a ton of stuff that I can learn. Like, that's what I want out of this, you know what I mean? And like, dude, we made a fantastic friendship out of it, and like, look where we are now, friggin' Westfield, Massachusetts, dude, doing a podcast.
Really appreciate you doing this, man, seriously.
Oh my God, dude, thank you.
Awesome.
No, thank you guys. This has been fantastic. So,
great.
Hell yeah.
Awesome.